Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Speak Plainly with me, your host, Owl Medicine. And today we are doing a part 2 on last week's episode called Satisfy the Beast. All right, last week we talked a lot about empathy and how empathy it's one of the things that gets hijacked in the modern world. And if we learn to satisfy the beast, we can learn to protect our empathy and protect our good hearts from the ravages of capitalism and uncontrolled consumerism. But I told you that there are lots and lots and lots of ways that a person can satisfy the beast, and that satisfying the beast has lots and lots and lots of benefits. It's really just a basic guiding principle to make sure that you are taking care of the physical needs of the physical animal that you reside in. All right, so since we covered the psychological and mental benefits of satisfying the beast last week, today we're going to talk about the physical issues and how satisfying the beast can help us overcome some of our physical discomfort and physical behaviors that get in the way of us being the people that we really want to be. So, I was talking with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and she was having a hard time figuring out what she really wanted to do, and her brain was just scattered everywhere. And I told her to take a cold shower or to go jump in her pool. And she was like, oh, that's a great idea. And so she did. She went, she took off, she jumped in her pool, and immediately felt so much better, had a really, really great experience that was obviously discomforting at first. And then as soon as she was out, all of a sudden her mind was clear and she was able to take on cleaning her room and doing the things that she needed to get done that day. And that's a really perfect example of how you can satisfy the beast. Her body and mind was feeling very weird, and it's sometimes really hard to put a word on how it is that we're feeling. And that's totally fine. We don't need to always put a word on it. If we can listen to it, then we don't have to name it, but naming it helps to make it feel like it's been listened to, if that makes any sense. So before we go any further, let me actually run you through what is it like to listen to your body? What is it like to learn to listen to the beast? Because the whole thing is about satisfying the beast, right? That's what this whole today and last week's episodes are about. But you can't satisfy the beast until you learn to listen to the beast. So I'm going to run you through a 2-minute little practice where you're going to learn to listen to your beast. All right, so I want everybody who's listening to this right now to take a couple of deep breaths through your nose, in your nose, out your nose. Okay? And we're going to do in the nose, out the nose, do 4 breaths that way. Now, once you're finished with those 4 breaths, I'm assuming that you haven't finished yet. I'm going to keep talking while you're breathing. Once you're finished with those breaths, I want you to squint your eyes, to close them mostly. I want you to have a relaxed squint. And the reason we're going to have a relaxed squint is now you can switch from nose breathing in and nose breathing out to nose breathing in and mouth breathing out. Mouth breather. And one of the things that the Western world gets wrong a lot about mindfulness, which is essentially what we're doing, is mindfulness, like all things in the Eastern world where it originated, was never meant to be practiced in isolation. Isolation doesn't exist in nature. Everything in nature is interdependent. Isolation is a hallucination of the West. It's a hallucination that brought us science, which is awesome. but it's a hallucination nonetheless, which is why we can do all the science in the world, and at the end they still say more research needs to be done, because ultimately what they do is in a lab and totally isolated from everything that happens in reality, and what they're trying to study is reality. So yeah, it's kind of a hallucination of the West. These things were not meant to be practiced in isolation. Mindfulness was meant to be practiced kind of throughout your day and all the time, because all things are relative. And we in the West, we isolate ourselves so often that mindfulness, I think, actually becomes harder for us. And that's like not just because our brains are racing and that sort of thing, but when we go to meditate, we have this picture in our heads, this fantasized, idolized version of what it's supposed to be like, and we picture ourselves in a white room with a beige bench or a beige prayer pillow and some beautiful tapestry staring at a wall. And that's what mindfulness is. That's what meditation is. That's not what mindfulness or meditation is or is supposed to be. It can look like that, but that's not it. That really is not it. What you're meant to be doing is witnessing the natural unfolding of phenomenon in the world. And if you are staring at a white wall indoors, you cannot witness hardly anything except yourself. So for people who have no mindfulness practice, who really don't get it or don't try going outside and doing it. Do a walking mindfulness practice. That really just means walk super duper slow. Walk so slow that it's hard to keep your balance. That's a mindfulness walk. So when we do this mindfulness thing, like I said, it's meant to keep our awareness on the unfolding of events in the world. And we just are meant to be aware of it. That's all we're supposed to do. And that's what we're going to do with your body. So I know you've been breathing for a long time now. So take one more big breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Nice, long, slow exhale. Are your eyes mostly squinted? Just kind of a little bit squinted, a little bit relaxed? Cool. Now, what do you notice? Are you noticing something in your body, or are you noticing something in your environment? If you're driving, really don't do this. Don't do this if you're driving. Or if you're like a cardiothoracic surgeon, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast and doing surgery, but if you are, stop it. Don't stop the surgery. Stop listening to this. Focus. What is your mind focusing on right now? Just look at it. Don't judge it. Stop judging it. Stop it. Stop judging it. Stop being so judgy. Stop judging yourself. Just where are you paying attention to? Got it? Cool. So that's mindfulness. What were you paying attention to? If you can tell me what you were aware of, that's mindfulness. You're aware that your back hurt? That's mindfulness. You're aware that you really didn't want to be doing this? That's mindfulness. If you're aware of something and not instantaneously responding to it, you're doing mindfulness. That's what it is. You're being mindful of what is happening in your environment. And your body is the environment in which you live. And what we call the environment is the environment in which your body lives. So your first environment is the meat puppet that you walk around inside, and the second is the spaces that your meat puppet walks around in. So the first most important environment that you must take care of is the physical being. And that is the definition of satisfying the beast. Listening to and then meeting the needs of your beast. So, how was that for you? Was it pleasant? Was it unpleasant? It really doesn't matter. So both are fine. It was probably kind of unpleasant if you're not used to it. That's totally okay. But when you do this practice, keep doing whatever you were doing to begin with. You don't need to be doing any specific nose breathing or anything right now. When you practice this, what you're practicing is your ability to see something, feel something, think something discomforting or discomforted, and not react. Why does that matter? Because that's how we stop compulsions. And compulsions cause problems. Some are fine. Most of them are fine. Breathing is a great compulsion. Heartbeats, great compulsion. Cursing at your grandma at Thanksgiving, probably not a great compulsion. So this training is to help you check in with your body. Now you know how to listen to the beast. It doesn't take long. The more you listen to the beast, the better off you are. And that doesn't mean try to sit down for 2 hours once a month. That doesn't work. In order for this to work, you need to be listening to your beast regularly. Daily is best, in fact. If you can, twice a day. If you can't, 3 times a day. All right, so this has been really useful for me because I didn't exactly plan ahead on this, on all the crap I was going to be doing this week. I really didn't. I didn't realize I had backed myself into a little bit of a corner and that I had deadlines on Monday, Tuesday, and 2 on Wednesday, and they were kind of big deadlines. And so I really had to listen to the beast on this one because I needed to work and I needed to get it all done. But I couldn't revert back to like high school me's version of getting a bunch of work done, which is wait till the last minute, slap something together and put it out there, because that's embarrassing. I'm not a high school kid anymore and I don't want to put crap out into the world. And so I had to really go, all right, how much good working time do I have? And not just how many hours of the day can I work, but I had to think about how long can I work? About an hour to an hour and a half before I need a good break. And then what's the most efficient use of my break? Well, I need to down regulate a little bit for me. So for me, that involves some like non-sleep, deep rest kind of things, laying on your back and doing yoga pose where you just lay on the ground and do nothing at all. You just lay still on your back. It's really nice. You should try it. So that works well. And the only reason I knew that I needed to do these things was because I had to check in with my beast. Writing all, I get really excited about everything I do. I love doing all of the things that I do. There's just a lot of them right now, and I love that. But my body still has limits. My energy is still finite. I say it all the time, like love is not a finite resource, but energy is. Chi is. It is definitely finite. So I had to go, all right, well, what can my beast handle versus what can Staff Sergeant Phelan from the Air Force handle, you know? So those two things are very different. The expectations of my body versus the expectation of my like military training is totally different. But luckily I have taken the time to learn lots and lots of ways to help me be as efficient as I can and to regulate myself as well as I can. And that's what I had to do. I had to go, okay, I'm going to do an hour and a half of work, a 15-minute break of non-sleep deep rest, back to an hour and a half of work, back to another 15, 20 minutes of non-sleep deep rest, take a little break for an hour, go back to work for an hour. And this is how I was able to knock out an insane amount of work in I got a bunch of it done yesterday. I'll be doing a ton of work all day today and all the way till Wednesday. But the reason I'm able to get so much done and it be good is because I've actually checked in and listened to my beast. And I know my beast's limitations because I've been listening to it long enough. And I went, okay, I know I will want to do all of these things. And I know that I have so much work. My greatest desire is to keep staring at the computer screen and click, clack, 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 tack, tack away all over my keyboard to try to just do as many things as I can. Because in my head, my training, my experiences in life, for whatever reason, seem to make me feel, even physiologically, as I'm click-clacking away, getting more and more frustrated, typing things away on a page, there comes a moment where my brain can't focus, and there's something inside of me that says, you figure it out, you focus anyway, right now. And if I don't keep going, then I feel like a wuss. I feel like I copped out. And that's fine. That's totally fine. It didn't used to be fine. It's totally fine now. And for you, if you're that same type of person, if you have a bunch of stuff on your plate and you're like, your nose is on the grindstone, you're doing all the studying, you're writing your paper, you're doing all of that, and you hit a wall where your brain just says, bleep, nope. Take a break. Seriously, take a break, do some non-sleep deep rest stuff, listen to binaural beats or something on YouTube, like do any of that stuff and then come back at it, because that's how we overcome our biology. We have to listen to the beast in order to find out what he needs or she needs or they need. And then once we figure out what our bodies need, then we can give it to it in a way that isn't compulsive and meets all the rest of our needs. So that's what I have to say about the this mindfulness part and listening to your body. Now that you know how to listen to your beast, what are you listening for? I mean, really, you're listening for whatever's happening in your body, but we're listening for things that can solve our discomforts, whether that's a psychological discomfort that we are replacing with a physical discomfort, which is super useful, like my friend jumping into her pool, or we have something like restless leg. When you lay down at night to go to sleep, there is a good chance if you have restless leg and your legs are running around, that could be a message from your body saying, hey, you should move more. You should walk more. Not just move more, but like use your legs. Walk and keep walking and keep walking. In Chinese medicine, we break everything down. In that part of the world, everything is yin or yang. And it's not actually yin or actually yang. It's only yin or yang in comparison to something else. And when we look at physical symptoms, we are looking at, are you having a symptom, an experience, a sensory experience of contraction or a sensory experience of expansion? Does it feel in your legs, say if you are having restless leg, does it feel like you are expanding, and does it feel energized, like you should do something? Or does it feel achy and contracted, weak, dull, tired? You can also feel weak and tired with the expanded part, but there's still an agitation to it. If there's no agitation and there's a lethargy to it, then you're looking at two different types. Right, you're looking at a full and you're looking at an empty kind of experience, full of stuck chi or empty of chi. And that's important, because that's going to tell you what you should do for your beast. If If there's a part of you that feels empty, then you should probably fill it. And if there's a part of you that feels full, then you should probably empty it. And the way that you empty it, especially with the legs, is go for a walk. Try it out. Go for a walk. It's totally awesome. More ways that you can satisfy the beast to address physical issues. Almost everybody's working from home. If you're working at all, everybody's working from home, and we're working in chairs. And that's not new, because you've always been sitting in chairs. You were sitting in chairs at school, and you've been sitting in chairs and couches at home. You have been sitting in chairs that are the exact same height for ever. Your femurs have constantly been in the same position relative to the pelvis and spine for the majority of your life, which is why our spines have actually changed shape. This is slightly off subject, but not really. So we're going to go down this little rabbit hole quickly. So working from home and sitting in the chairs constantly, it has caused us to lose proprioceptive awareness of our butts. We're constantly sitting down on our butts, and if you sit on anything for a long time, it becomes very uncomfortable. Anyone who's been around someone who's been hospitalized for an extended period of time, or anybody who's worked in the medical field, knows all about bed sores, and if you don't turn people and rotate people, their flesh will dissolve inside them, being squished and pressed between bone and bed. We have to use the muscles in our body in order for them to stay alive and healthy. And all the sitting we do kind of gives us glute amnesia. And that's a problem because our glutes are a huge muscle, and they're kind of important because they connect our spine and upper body to our legs. And they not only connect it to our legs, but that's what we should be using to walk. So this is where the S-shaped spine versus J-shaped spine comes in. There was a researcher who went through and did a series of studies on indigenous and hunter-gatherer peoples and their experiences of lumbago, or back pain, non-specific back pain. Guess how much back pain they have? None. Zero in the entire culture. So she wanted to know why. And she found a few things as to why. And the one that really got me as an osteopath is that we don't have S-shaped spines. At least we shouldn't have S-shaped spines. Shouldn't's a strong word, but whatever. I'll go with it for now. The S-shapedness of the Western world American spine is due, I think, to how much sitting that we do. And turns out that people with J-shaped spines have zero back pain. And why would it be J-shaped? And what exactly does that mean? So, ours, we have the curve in our cervical spine, our neck, and then the thoracic spine kind of continues that curve in, and then we curve in the opposite direction in our lower back, in our L spine. And that is a problem for proper abdominal strength, because essentially what we're all doing is we're contracting our back, our lower back, a little too much, which causes our ribs to come up. When we're flexing the back, the front has to relax, which is why our abdominals are weak and our glutes are weak, because we're able to just position our hips and back in a way that we're kind of precariously balanced on top of each leg as we walk. This is why walking has been described as controlled falling, but it really shouldn't be. We're just walking wrong. And it's because of the way that we sit and this gluteal amnesia. So as far as tips for this goes, don't sit up straight. Just don't do it. When somebody says sit up straight, don't do it. Because what happens when somebody says sit up straight is you're going to go and you're going to flare your ribs out. Watch. Do it right now. Sit up straight. What happened? Your head pulled back, your ribs flared up, your lower back pinched, and your stomach extended. It elongated. That's what happens when you sit up straight. At least that's what happens when I sit up straight. And that's not functional. The reason I found this out was actually really cool. It was super cool. So I was walking with a couple of friends out in the forest, and there is a spot near here where the road has been washed out for multiple years because the river said, screw you guys, I'm going home, and just ate the road. And they used to fix it, but it just kept eating the road and kept eating the road, and they finally were just like, this isn't worth it anymore, bye. There are miles of road, paved wide road out in the woods that you can only access by foot. And because I had two friends with me, I was able to ask them for just a random experiment idea I had as we were walking back. I went, hey, would you guys mind walking on either side of me? I would actually like to close my eyes and just walk. And I just want to use my ears to orient myself. And if you guys just stay on my left and right, then I know, because it's a road, that I won't trip on anything, and I'll just have to trust you guys. And we did that. And I did it for 4 miles. 4 miles, not a single time did I peep or cheat. It was awesome. And about a mile or so in, maybe even less than that, as I was walking, my whole body shifted. Something changed because the first half mile or 3/4 of a mile, I just kept bobbing. I kept kind of bouncing a little bit, and I kept losing my balance. I don't know how. I walk all the time, but I kept losing my balance. My eyes were closed, and so we use our inner ear for balance, which is extremely important. But beyond that, I was like, man, I feel so discoordinated. This is crazy. The thing that shifted inside me was, as I was walking, suddenly my ribs, I got an inch, maybe an inch and a half shorter. My ribs dropped. My gait got wider, not longer, but got a little bit, just a teensy bit wider. My ribs dropped and my head pulled back. And suddenly, I was very, very clearly on terra firma. Suddenly, I was able to feel every part of the ground and my body and my connection to it. And it was because I curled my pelvis under a little bit, elongated my lower back, dropped my rib cage, and my head came back. And that wasn't because that's what I was told to do. It was because that's the only way that I could keep balance. And I realized that all of these years in the military and my whole life coming from a very military family, though, and everybody being over 6 foot tall, I'm the shortest, and I'm 6'1". Well, I thought I was 6'1". Turns out I'm closer to 5'11", or maybe just barely 6 foot, because if I stand in a way that's actually functional, I lose a full inch or more of my 6'1" height. And it's just because I come from a family that was constantly saying, stand up tall, stand up straight. And then I joined the military. And when I joined the military, I joined a very special elite group that does just ceremonies. And our job was to literally stand still and look pretty. So standing up straight was the whole deal. So that was another really, really cool scenario where I learned to listen to the beast. And the reason I share this is because you can do anything. I want you to come up with anything to learn to satisfy the beast. If you feel a little bit anxious, if you feel a little bit agitated and you're not really sure what to do, rather than just jumping straight over to whatever your favorite social media platform is, why don't you try doing something with your physical body? And it doesn't have to be profound, right? Like, the thing that working with the circus folks and homeless folks taught me, like being homeless and then going and hanging out with a bunch of circus folks and doing the festival scene with them, nothing is wasted, no time is wasted, and there's always something to do. Like, they do flip cup, flip hat, like juggle, literally anything. It's like, that's what's so amazing about the circus folks that I know and fell in love with, is they're never ever bored. They're always doing something, and it's almost always physical. And it doesn't need to be demanding. They're not always doing like double backflips or anything like that. They're juggling or playing flip cup, like I said, or trying to flip a hat 7 times in the air and get it to land on their head. And they just do that over and over and over and over and over again until they get better and better and better and better at it and master it, and then maybe sometimes slap it into a show. That's it. They're listening to their beast, knowing like, hey, our bodies were designed to be in constant motion forever and ever and ever. Amen. That's the way we were designed by our great grandma. And they recognize that. They recognize this low grade, I want to constantly be doing something. And in most of the Western world, that something, it must be productive because capitalism has taken over our brains. But it really doesn't need to be productive in a money value type of way. It can just be something that you're getting better at, because becoming a master at something is really, really good for our mental health. Mastering something, getting better at a skill, advancing in that way is really, really good for us. So you can find many, many ways to satisfy the beast that are going to assist your physical existence. Like many, many, many ways. So don't give up. Try that mindfulness thing that we ran through. Try that. Give it a shot 2 times a day. Set a 5-minute timer. We only did 2 minutes. This is a podcast. I didn't want like 2 minutes of silence. I tried to leave these long pauses to make you feel uncomfortable for a second so you would actually think. But you got to do it on your own. So listen to the beast daily. Figure out what he needs. And then meet his needs. Meet your beast's needs ahead of time. That way, when they pop up in an unwanted way, you're like, oh yeah, got this. I already have a plan in place. That feels good. All right. That's what I got to say about part 2 of Satisfy the Beast. It's not just your psychological experiences that remembering to satisfy the beast is about. It's about your physical experiences too. Satisfy the Beast is really just a way to remember that you are a conscious agent living inside a physical body, and it's your job to use that physical body in the way that's going to best benefit you. So y'all have a marvelous day. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you stuck around this long, bless you. I love you all. Good day. Stay blessed. For any of y'all who might be suffering with that back pain and you're interested in the J-shaped spine, that scientist was Esther Gokhale, EstherGokhale. She was the one behind all of it. Give her a Google. She's got her own institute.